Do you have a gun? Would you like to have a gun? Why should you have a gun? Well, those are some of the questions maybe those in Zamfara, and even in Nigeria, may be asking themselves now. But they could also form part of what our guest may respond to in just a moment. So, again, we've got two gentlemen joining us this morning. Austin Ewa is a former AIG of police. He joins us virtually. We also do have Sani Shinkafi, who is the chairman committee on prosecution of bandits and other bandit-related offenses, Zamfara State. It sounds like another related offenses commission that we know. Gentlemen, good morning, and thank you for joining us on the program today. We'll just adjust a little bit on Mr. Shinkafi. But Mr. Iwa, you heard that directive.
Good morning.
Good morning. That directive from Zamfara State, where they say residents can apply to the relevant agencies with a view to getting license to own a gun for protection. And they say it's supposed to aid security agencies given the challenge they are facing there. Well, you have been on the force. They're supposed to apply to the police. What is your impression about that specific directive?
Chamberlain, thank you for having me this morning. Let me start by saying that it is the duty of government everywhere to provide, to secure its citizens, to protect life and property of citizens. It is a very paramount responsibility for the existence of the state. Of course, we all talk about social contract, and it seems to me that the social contract between the state and its citizens have been broken in that particular state, in Zamfara State. Government has shown that it has lost control of what is happening here, and it has failed to abide by the social contract that it has with its people. It's very unfortunate that we are getting this kind of information. What I think the government is trying to do is to perpetuate the already existing anarchy in the state by asking citizens to carry guns. First of all, let us know that ownership of gun in Nigeria is purely for hunting and not for protection of human beings. And so I wonder where this is coming from, but I think that Zamfara government will reconsider its directive and look at what the law says about ownership of guns within the state or even in the country. I think let me leave it there first, and let's see how this discussion goes. Since we have somebody from the state with us.
There are a number of issues to raise, really. I mean, just as you have said, one of the natural things to ask is whether or not the states, quote unquote, by state I'm talking about the country, didn't ask for it. First of all, this is Zamfara is not the only state asking its people to defend themselves. We've heard it from pockets of states all over, the place, and it only speaks to one thing and raises this question of whether or not the police is capable of doing the job that, because after all, one would expect that the police is the unit of government that the government will use to protect lives and property. So the question then is, if the police has not been able to deliver, you are a former AIG, so you definitely know, what I'm talking about. If the police has not been able to do it, the question is why? Because that no one would want to leave his citizens and all of that lying fallow, not being able to do what they're supposed to do, go to the farms, go to their jobs, vacate their homes. That is happening in Zamfara as we speak. So if the police has not been able to do what is expected, the question is why? For which reason the government of Zamfara State is asking for this?
Exactly the question that we keep asking. why is it that the police and other security agencies have found it difficult to exercise governmental control over these areas? And the question is simple. I mean, the security agencies have been neglected over the years. I mean, we just heard of what is happening in the Supreme Court, the neglect it has experienced. It is the same neglect that the security agencies, especially the police, which is supposed to be like the lead agency, is experiencing. I mean, provision of resources, provision of manpower. I mean, in a country of 200 million people, you have less than 200,000 about 400,000 people policing the country with no resources, no motivation, nothing, absolutely nothing, no policy guidelines. I mean, this is a country where no government, whether state or federal, has a policy or has developed a policy on public safety, has developed any policy on community safety or community protection. We say that we have a national security policy, but what does the national security policy talk about this kind of thing?
All right.
So we have a neglected organization that is incapable of delivering its responsibilities to citizens, and that's where we are.
Okay, Mr. Shinkafi, concerning this directive by the state government, including the shooter site, which we'll see how much of that we can elaborate on. The government, the state knows the law. The governor is aware of the law in terms of what is required to get licenses, as it were, which Mr. Iwa did say is for hunting, not for protection. So on that point, you have those who think this is tantamount to putting the cart before the horse, or even playing to the gallery, because you know that there are questions about that scenario, because some other people think there's no way that 9,500 people will be allowed to get licenses to get guns for self-protection and not for hunting.
Well, thank you for having me on this program. The issue of the shoot aside executive order by His Excellency, the Governor of Zamfara State, is only restricted in murder axis in the Gusau East local government, where the rampage of banditry attack on the innocent citizens in Zamfara State. And many of these citizens in the murder town were being driven out by the bandit, and they have killed and taken some people on captivity. So the governor now issued an executive order for the closure of the market and livestock market, and also shoot aside anybody seen on Okada vehicle using clutch should be shoot aside, and anybody found carrying AK-47, AK-49 rifle should also be shot aside. This is an executive order. So on the issue of possession of firearms, there is what we call Firearms Act and Firearms Regulation laws in Nigeria. I can ally with the position of the former AIG that he knows there is no prohibition of a private person owning guns in Nigeria as far as it adheres to the firearms regulation laws in Nigeria. Only military uniforms, pistol, grenade, and rocket launchers and other sophisticated weapons that are to be used by security personnel are prohibited by the private person to use. So when you have attained the age of 17 years, and when you are also physically and mentally fit, you are entitled to possess firearms according to the firearms regulation law in Nigeria. And those firearms firearms that a private person can bear or can possess in Nigeria is a firm action. And a private person can apply to any commissioner of police across the state of the federation, including Abuja. And when the license is acquired, then the applicant will now proceed to a licensed arms dealer and possess the firm action and also took the gun to the commissioner of police and record the serial number of the gun. So as far as the issue we're having at hand in Zamfara, we can no longer bear the excesses of the armed bandit in Zamfara state. If I can refresh your memory, armed banditry
Mr. Shinkafi,
activities.
Hang on a minute. Just before you proceed to that next line of thought, does the Firearms Act, which you cited, does it allow for even private citizens to own sophisticated weapons or dang gun for hunting, as Mr. Iwa alluded to?
What I have said earlier, firm action for gaming and hunting, firm action. But
message for protection against banditry.
Let me tell you with what's happening, even for the Dengon, it is the local authority who has the power to issue a Dengon license through a commissioner of police. So on the issue of the action we are taking, let me tell you, the numbers of the security personnel in the state cannot fight this unbanded and the criminal element in the state.
All right, just give us a moment.
Numbers of police.
Mr. Shinkafi, pardon me for jumping in. We'll come back to you in just a moment. Don't go away. Welcome back. Well, Mr. Shinkafi, having listened to your point about owning even dang guns, as you say, and then Firearms Act saying for hunting, is that to conclude that, well, they will use the dang guns if they get the licenses for hunting of bandits in the States?
You see, self-defense in case of any danger or safety is a plea in any court of law. So when you are now attacked by bandits who illegally possess AK-47, AK-49, and you have also a locally fabricated gun, or even if you have possessed a license for hunting or gaming, you will left with no option than to defend yourself for safety of danger. This armed bandit has a sophisticated weapon, including rocket launchers, grenades, bombs, AK-49, AK-47. So the innocent people are being killed day by day.
Okay.
And the security operatives in the state are not doing the needful.
All right, we'll come back to that in a minute. But Mr. Iwa, having been a law officer yourself, now that narrative of his where they say, look, even if we comply with the Firearms Act and get a dang gun for hunting, but it can also be used for self-defense. Is that a lacuna which you think they're trying to take advantage of? Would it fly from the point of the law enforcement?
Let me first of all correct an impression that is created by the Honorable. First of all, the Firearms Act does not mention pump action. Pump action is a semi-automatic rifle, and it is not allowed to be owned by individuals. What the Firearms Act recognizes is single barrel and double barrel rifles, and even then, it is strictly for hunting, whether it is dang gun or the or single barrel or double barrel gun. It is strictly for hunting. There is nowhere in our laws where the firearms, where individuals are allowed to own guns for the purpose of self-protection. However, if you own a dang gun and you are overwhelmingly attacked in your house, you could justify your defense by using whatever you have with you, including a dang gun. But let it be clear that you cannot own a pump action gun in Nigeria because it is semi-automatic, or even if it is automatic, it is not allowed. I think what we should be talking about is, first of all, just like he has alluded to, that the security in the state is not enough. They don't have enough manpower in the state. We should be thinking of increasing the manpower, not just increasing the number, but making sure that we have a well-equipped, mobilized, and very well-trained police and other security agencies in the state. Not only in the state, not only that particular state, but all over the state. We don't have enough police. And
Mr.
Yes.
If I may come in, if I may jump in, sorry to interrupt your thoughts. Indeed, some people will say that they agree very, very much with you that we should hire. And the president has been talking about how we have been hiring. He talked about how, I think over the past how many years or so, they have been able to hire at least 10,000 from the, is it 100,000 or so that they actually planned to hire. So that they'll argue that that is an ongoing process. However, people are still being murdered on a daily basis. People are being hunted like animals. And it's a good thing you've made the point that if people had this wherewithal, they had access to these guns, that they perhaps could have protected themselves under the circumstances. But looking at where we currently are, because some of the solutions will take a while, there are those who argue that why does it seem that there is now, there's always some sort of resistance when it comes to, liberalizing arms for people who have largely been law-abiding. Because according to them, on the black market, for those who want to wreak havoc on the people, for those who want to perpetrate harm to the people, they have a steady market, a supply of arms. Why is it that good people cannot also have that supply of arms to them legally?
Well, that is what the law says. The law, if we have to allow everybody to own firearms legally, let the National Assembly change. Let the National Assembly change the law and make it and provide for every citizen to own a gun. But then we can also take a look at what is happening in other countries, other climes, and see how liberalizing gun has been a major problem for them. I mean, look at what is happening in US today with all the strong agencies, all the strong organs of government, and yet controlling the use of firearms has been a problem. I mean, in other countries, take for example, in Australia, for example, in UK, for example, in Australia, ownership of gun was liberalized, but after a couple of shootings of citizens in the streets, they brought in laws that made it stricter for people to own firearms, and they are at peace with their country now. But then again, there are other provisions that government can provide. It is not just about reacting to crime. What has the government done in crime prevention in the state, in this state? What has government done to make sure that citizens don't drift to crime? Where are the jobs that make citizens not drift to crime? What provisions have government done? I mean, these things, where you have insecurity, you have to look at what is the root cause. And in most cases, the root cause is that we have people who don't have anything to do, who are not going to school. It is also the duty of government to provide for education, to provide for resources that we sustain their livelihood.
Thankfully, Mr. Shinkafi is here. He might be able to take some of the questions as to let me quickly send this to him then. Mr. Shinkafi, if you can hear me, some people believe that what the state governor is trying to do, and government by extension, is seeking the easy way out. They've raised up their hands in surrender, more or less like, we cannot protect you anymore. Get guns and protect yourselves. That would be the implication of what the Zamfara state government or governor is thinking up. There have been those who have said, why are you not thinking of getting vigilantes? Why are you not setting up an outfit like we have seen in the Southwest, even though there were questions as to the efficacy of that? But at least it has been more acceptable than asking citizens to pick up, to get certificates or get licenses for weapons.
We still have the governor inaugurated 4 committees yesterday. The committee is a standing committee on security. That is committee on the security. This million joint task force. So that is like a community policing. And there's also which is beheaded by former Commissioner of Police Maman Anka. And there is also the committee I'm chairing for prosecution of armed banditry-related offenses. What do we have? What the governor yesterday obeyed to the good people of Zamfara State, that we are going to recruit 500 vigilante in each and every emirate, 19 emirate we have. We have 19 emirates. So we are going to recruit 500 vigilante groups in all the emirates. So when you put it into number, it's about 9,000 vigilantes. We are going to try to emulate what our 1,000 counterparts, counterpart did like Amotupi. You understand? So what we are trying to do, we are trying to recruit this vigilante and also train them through the police training schools in Sokoto or in Kano. So what the government was doing, we are pushed to the wall, and we can no longer tolerate the excesses of this armed banditry and their collaborators. If you look at what is happening in Zamfara State, if you have solved the problem of insecurity in Zamfara State, you have solved the problem of the Northwest, and maybe you have solved the problem of Northern Nigeria. So the issue of insecurity, what the former AIG was saying, the issue of insecurity is not only in Zamfara State, it's not only in the Northern Nigeria, it is also in the Southern Nigeria. Issue of IFOP.
Yes, but Zamfara has a peculiar issue. I mean, the issue in Zamfara has been on for a while. I mean, apart from the Northeast, it would seem that Zamfara has been a particularly thorny state to solve in terms of the security problems that it has faced. I mean, it is Zamfara. We have seen that there's been a no-fly zone put in place, and then later on it was scrapped, or maybe it's still in place and we don't even know.
The issue of no-fly zone has no effect on the Zamfara state because we don't have even existing airport for now. The airport is under construction. So what we are saying, you know, we have proximity to the border, and the Zamfara state sharp boundary with the Niger Republic, where these criminal elements and their sponsors can easily come in with the guns. If a criminal
have you been able to, apart from that,
AK-47, launcher.
If I may, Mr. Shinkafi, apart from that, apart from the fact that you share border with Niger Republic, are there other indices which you think make you prone to the sort of security collapse which you have witnessed in Zamfara? Because some people are also pointing fingers to the indices of development in Zamfara state. When it comes to education, there's very little to write home about. I mean, in terms of health, etc. The AIG just also asked about jobs. What about the economy of Zamfara state? What exactly is happening in that regard? If you compare it with neighboring states, some people will say that Zamfara, you know, doesn't even compare favorably with the other states which surround it in the region. So there are questions as to what exactly is happening with Zamfara in that regard.
On the issue of unemployment, is a like natural phenomenon across the country. So when you are trying to talk of lack of unemployment is the root cause of the insecurity in Zamfara state, what about Anambra State, where IFOP have been killing people day by day? What about the Imo State, where people are being killed day by day? What about in Borno State and Yobe State? So on the issue of unemployment, what I'm trying to
Sorry, Mr. Shinkafi, you missed the point of my question. Without, you know, prejudice to these other states, I'm talking about other neighboring states which are just around Zamfara. There's Sokoto, there is Kebbi, which is just, you know, they are neighboring states to Zamfara. And Zamfara is in the northwest region of the country. There are questions as to why it will seem that the problem seems particularly intractable in Zamfara state.
Even in Sokoto state, the problem is there. Even in Kebbi state, some of the federal government college girls in Yaoundé are still in captivity. In Katsina state, day by day, including the Katsina town, Banda have been attacking Katsina state town where the president come from. And even in Kaduna, we have Birnin Gwari forest, where these armed bandits are in thousands, including ISWAP and ISIS are in the forest, in Birnin Gwari forest. But because Zamfara is always on the news, and also some politicians are trying to make it to use issue of insecurity as a way of campaign ahead of 2023 elections. So what I'm telling you, this problem is compounded in the northwestern, in the northwest, particularly in the 5 states: Kebbi, Kaduna, Sokoto, Zamfara, and the Katsina state. So only in Kano and Jigawa is very minimal. So what I'm trying to tell you, it is not issue of unemployment. Some are even exaggerating the matter. People are outside the state are looking at beyond what we are seeing it. But with what is happening now, the recent activities of the armed bandits in the state necessitate the call for possession of firearms by the private citizens in the state. But put it on court. Government have not even clearly specified the gun. Because some people are misquoting him, calling rifles AK-47, AK-49. government is trying to act within the ambit of the Firearms Regulation Law in Nigeria.
Okay.
Firearms Regulation Law of 1958 and Firearms Regulation Law of 1990.
Okay. Well, Mr. Shinkafi, now this committee of yours is in place already, Committee on Prosecution of Banditry-Related Offenses in Zamfara State. When does this order of the governor take off? When does it start to take effect?
Today by 2 p.m., I'm going to head my inaugural meeting. And also today, the governor is going to sign into law death penalty for kidnappers, informer, and all banditry-related issue. Today there's going to be a breaking news that the House of Assembly in Zamfara said yesterday passed into law death penalty for kidnappers and also informer and their collaborators.
Well, Mr. Shinkafi, since you have given us the headline, the breaking news already, but when does that order or the directive or the whatever it is that we want to call it, that the governor said that people can begin to own guns, when does that one take off?
No. Let me tell you. Governor is acting within the ambit of the Firearms Regulation Law. What the law says, a private person in Nigeria can possess firearms if he's 17 years old, if he's physically and mentally fit, if he has no record of any narcotic case, or if he has no record of any criminal record or domestic violence. So, and if at all the application is granted by the applicant, he should proceed to a gun dealer and own a gun. And with what is happening in Nigeria, if criminal like bandit can own AK-47, AK-49, walk on the street, no soldier or police or any security agency will shoot him aside or arrest him or send him to jail or life imprisonment, then somebody who's doing his normal life cannot defend himself for safety of danger of this criminal element.
Iwa, it appears
it's disturbing.
Yeah, Mr. Chair, just a minute, hang on. Okay, we hear you. We need to wind down and close down. Mr. Iwa, in conclusion, it appears as though we have a challenge on our hands, because you could have other states who are watching and waiting and listening saying, well, we equally have a huge challenge on our hands in terms of security. We're overwhelmed. We've called that several times. Nothing has happened. Why don't we as well go ahead and tell our citizens, go and get some of these things? And then citizens are also watching, saying, look, I have to find a way to defend myself. You have said that we need to deploy more manpower to ensure things happen. But it appears it's not as straightforward. How do we resolve all of these things?
It seems to me as if we are more fixated on reactive security provisioning in this country, rather than also balancing it with proactive ways of dealing with the situation. Agreed that we have a very deadly situation on our hand, but do we make it more deadly, create more anarchy by asking citizens to go and procure firearms for themselves? I think the answer is overwhelming no. I think that we need to be more creative and innovative in dealing with this in this situation. Let us also look at other proactive ways of dealing with it. I mean, you asked, Moekwe asked them about education and all that, and that question was evaded. I mean, we have a situation in the Northeast where even this year, some states have not been able to pay for even WAEC. I mean, government is supposed to invest in people so that their capabilities to take care of themselves can be fully achieved. But that is not what we have here. We have a huge population of people that have, and all we think is reacting to what they are doing rather than also balancing our reactive efforts with proactive efforts. Like I said, and I always say it, we don't have, the Zamfara state government and most other state government don't even have any policy to protect their communities. No security policy, no community safety policy or even strategy.
All right, Mr. Ewa, we have to let it go at this point in time. Mr. Austin Ewa, former AIG of Police, as well as Mr. Sani Shinkafi, Chairman, Committee on Prosecution of Bandits-Related Offences in Zamfara State. Thank you, gentlemen, for your time today.
Thank you.